Hey Lex, do you ever find yourself like halfway through the month and wonder where your paycheck went? Well, you're not alone, okay? We all have those moments where we splurge a little bit too freely, sometimes in ways that might make us cringe later on. Let's face it, right? Spending money is easy, but spending it wisely? Well, that's a whole other game. Why do we so often end up spending too much on things we don't really need, and what can we do to stop the bleeding? Let's look at 15 dumb ways to spend your money so you can smarten up. Number 1. Buying your flights too late. You know the drill. Something comes up last minute, or maybe you've been hesitant to commit to your travel plans. Waiting to book your flight can often mean paying significantly more, as airlines typically hike prices up as the departure date nears to capitalize on urgent demand. This isn't just about a few extra dollars. For international or even cross-country trips, this could mean hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars more spent per trip. This kind of spending can disrupt your budget for other priorities or savings goals. Number 2. Subscriptions you don't use. Then there are those subscriptions you don't really use. You know how it goes. You sign up for a gym or maybe a couple of streaming service memberships, thinking you'll get the most out of them. But if you're not logging in or showing up regularly, your money's just trickling away. Take a gym membership, for instance. It can run you anywhere from $20 to well over $100 a month. Over a year, that's a serious chunk of change. It's not about trying to squeeze in more visits to get your money's worth. It's about being honest with yourself about what you actually use and what you don't. Maybe it's time to cut out what doesn't fit into your day-to-day and keep only what you truly enjoy or benefit from. This way, you keep your budget tight and you're spending smart. Number 3. Hidden fees. Those small, sneaky little charges that you don't spot right away might seem insignificant, but they pile up. You might find them tacked onto your bank account statements, your utility bills, or even when you buy something online. What's tricky about these fees is how they can silently chip away at your bank balance. Before you know it, you've paid out a few $100s over the year. That's money you could have tucked away into savings or used to knock down some debt. Always keep an eye on the fine print or ask directly about any charges. That way, you can keep more of your hard-earned cash where it belongs, with you. Number 4. That really expensive coffee. Grabbing a daily gourmet coffee is such a regular treat it feels like a small splurge. A nice $5 coffee to kickstart your day. But here's the catch, okay? When you add that up, it comes to about $1,800 a year. That is no small number. This routine doesn't just dip into your wallet each day, it can also sidetrack from your bigger financial goals. Maybe you're trying to build up an emergency fund or save for a down payment on a home. Think about it, okay? Redirecting the cost of your coffee habit could really boost those savings. Number 5. Expensive children's clothes. Buying expensive children's clothes could seem like a good idea because you want the best for your kids and it's fun to see them dressed up in cute, stylish outfits. But children grow really fast, and they often wear out their clothes or move on to the next size up before getting much use out of them. Parents can end up spending a lot on these clothes, sometimes hundreds of dollars each season, to keep up with the growth spurts and changing weather. This spending can lead to financial strain, especially for families managing other expenses. It could also teach children unsustainable habits regarding consumption and value. Considering how rapidly they outgrow clothes, this spending can be excessive. If you're spending $50 on a single outfit instead of a more reasonably priced alternative, well, you could end up spending hundreds more each year, which adds up especially if you have more than one child. Number 6. Expensive gifts. Being generous feels great, but regularly splashing out on expensive gifts can really start to weigh on your finances. Imagine you're dropping hundreds of dollars for each gift, and you do this several times a year. Birthdays, holidays, and so on. It adds up to a major chunk of your budget before you even know it. Plus, spending so much might even make things uncomfortable for the people receiving the gifts. They could feel pressured to reciprocate in kind, which isn't always possible. Keeping gifts thoughtful, yet within a reasonable budget, is a smart way to show that you care without breaking the bank or setting expectations too high. Number 7. Groceries you don't use and just go bad in the fridge. You know, the average family tosses out about 25% of the food they buy? 25%! That can mean over $1,500 thrown away every year. Throwing out food is tough on your wallet and the environment. Buying too much groceries that end up going bad is a common mistake. It usually happens when you shop without a plan or you buy more than you need, thinking it's better to stock up. When those extra fruits, veggies, and perishable items spoil before you use them, it's not just food going to waste, it's your money too. It is not uncommon for families to spend an extra few $100s each year on food that never gets eaten. This waste can add up financially and also has environmental implications, considering the resources used in producing and transporting that food that just ends up in the trash. And on top of that, it's also what you paid for the energy to store it in your fridge and the time you spent cooking it. Cutting down on food waste saves you a chunk of change and helps the planet at the same time. So stick to buying what you need for those planned meals and resist impulse buys, especially for perishable items. Also, learning more about storing different types of food properly can extend their shelf life and reduce waste. Number 8. Junk food. Eating a lot of junk food like snacks, fast food, or sugary drinks really adds up in more ways than one. Each little purchase might seem like, hey, just a few bucks here and there, but put them all together and you could be spending a hefty sum every year on snacks. And it's not just about the money right now, it's also the bigger picture to think about. Eating poorly can end up costing you even more down the line in medical bills if it starts to affect your health. It's something to think about next time you're tempted to grab that quick bite. Number 9. Expensive cars. Many people who spring for an expensive car end up deeply in debt. A high-end car can cost anywhere from $50,000 to well over $100,000, and financing that, often with a high interest rate, means hefty monthly payments that can last for years. And if your financial circumstances change in the meantime, that debt doesn't just disappear, no, putting you in a tough spot. This sort of spending can lead to a cycle of debt that's hard to escape. Every dollar that goes into that car is a dollar not saved for emergencies, retirement, or other crucial goals. People often spend tens of thousands of dollars more than they would on a more economical choice, because a car depreciates the minute you drive off the lot, no matter what it is. In the end, while the luxury might feel good in the moment, the financial pressure it brings can be a burden that lasts a whole lot longer. Number 10. Excessive dining out. We spend so much money eating out because it's convenient and gives us a nice little treat, right? It's also a social setting that can be hard to replicate in your own dining room. It's about enjoying the moment and the company, which is why it's so appealing to many. But just like with clothing, finding a balance that doesn't strain your finances is really important. Eating out often can quickly become a very costly habit. While it's enjoyable to avoid the kitchen and sample different cuisines that you didn't have to make, the expenses stack up really fast. So if you're dining out several times a week, you could easily spend $30 or more per meal. Over the course of a month, that could mean over $360 if you eat out 4 times a week. And that's just for one person at a decently priced spot. This kind of spending can seriously eat into your budget, potentially diverting funds from your savings or your debt repayment plan. It is not uncommon for people to spend thousands of dollars a year on dining out alone, money that could have otherwise enhanced your financial stability or go toward future investment. Number 11. Impulse shopping. Making unplanned purchases influenced by promotions or momentary desires. Impulse shopping means buying things spontaneously, often because you see a sale or just suddenly want something. It's easy to do, especially when the ads and sales are everywhere tempting you. These unplanned purchases, whether they're small items or big-ticket goods, can really add up and put a strain on your budget. People often spend a significant amount on these impulse buys, and it's not unusual to rack up hundreds or even thousands of dollars over a year on things that weren't in the budget. This can lead to bigger financial problems like rising credit card debt and dwindling savings. Plus, it often leads to a home full of things you don't really need or even want after that initial excitement fades. The thrill of impulse buying often comes from the instant happiness it seems to deliver, acting as a quick way to lift your mood or relieve stress. But the short burst of joy doesn't balance out the long-term financial strain it creates. Number 12. High-end gym memberships. Signing up for expensive fitness centers that you rarely visit. Signing up for a high-end gym can feel like a great step forward toward a healthier lifestyle. But if you're not going regularly, it's a lot of money down the drain. These gyms can be quite pricey, with memberships ranging from $100 to over $200 a month. Over a year, that's easily $1,200 to $2,400 spent, and that's a significant chunk of money if you are not making the most of that facility. This kind of spending can lead to financial strain, especially if you're also juggling other commitments or debts. And it adds to your guilt. Every month, that payment comes out of your account, reminding you that you are not using that gym. People often sign up for these expensive memberships under the impression that the cost is going to motivate them to work out more. But life gets busy, and good intentions don't always turn into good action. To curb this, consider what you really need in a gym. If it's just the basics, a more affordable gym would be just fine. Alternatively, you could invest in some home equipment or look for cheaper or even free ways to stay fit, like running, biking, or online workout videos. Number 13. Trend-driven clothing. Spending on fashion that is likely to go out of style quickly. Spending money on trend-driven clothing can be a waste because fashion trends change so fast. What's in today will be out in just a few months and back in a couple of years. The costs vary widely depending on where you shop, but it's really easy to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars a year or more on clothes that you only wear for a short time. This kind of spending can lead to financial waste and a closet full of clothes you no longer feel good about wearing. It also contributes to environmental waste, as these clothes often end up discarded. Number 14. Expensive hobby supplies. Investing heavily in hobbies without fully engaging with them. Investing heavily in hobby supplies can be tempting when you're excited about starting something new. It's common to go all out buying the best equipment or materials right away. This enthusiasm can lead to spending a lot of money on hobbies you may not stick with long term. People often spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars on gear for activities like photography, golf, or painting before they fully commit or are skilled. This kind of spending can lead to a financial strain, especially if you lose interest and all of those expensive supplies just gather dust. It can also create clutter and waste, as unused items take up space in your home. And lastly, number 15, unnecessary home gadgets. Buying those home gadgets that promise to make your life easier and more efficient is certainly tempting, right? But they either end up gathering dust or break soon after, and the repair or replace work has to begin. They have little to no practical use. They're just marketed as the next big thing. Those high-tech juicers, smart egg trays that alert you on how many eggs you have left, or Bluetooth-enabled forks designed to help you eat slower, often catch your eye with these promises of making your life easier or more interesting. You can spend anywhere from a few dollars to a few hundred on these gadgets, depending on how complex they are. The downside, though, is these devices can lead to a significant waste of money, especially if they end up unused in the back of a cupboard. The accumulation of such gadgets not only clutters your space, but it can also lead to buyer's remorse when you realize they just don't add that much value to your daily life at all. You know, Alexer, it's clear that our financial habits are more than just numbers, right? They're a reflection of our lifestyles, aspirations, and sometimes our momentary lapses in judgment. But every purchase, big or small, makes a dent that we can allow to grow bigger, or we can rein it back in and have better control over it. It takes a little bit of planning and preparation, some forethought, and a lot of impulse control. You never want to be the person who ticks off all the boxes of the 15 dumb ways to spend your money, right? So let's get back to work.